Perhaps I should start by welcoming you to what Boris Johnson might call a work event. So please feel free to pour your drinks. Please feel free to nibble your cheese and biscuits. There will, of course, be an inquiry formally to follow. But seriously, thank you. And I believe that 300 of us are online. Thank you for joining us for our first event of the new year. To those in 2021 who have lost loved ones and whose families have suffered because of the virus, I and all of us at Our Scottish Future want to pass on our condolences. These unthinkable losses have reinforced my, and I think all our determination to make 2022 the year when we bring the virus completely under control. And the way to do so connects directly to our message this evening. It's only through cross-border cooperation to get vaccines and treatments to all who need them across the world, and by eradicating vaccine nationalism, that we can prevent new COVID variants and put the virus truly behind us. Now, similarly, here at home, our argument at Our Scottish Future is that it is only through the Scottish Parliament making the best of cooperation across the United Kingdom, and that means recognising the mutual benefits and virtues of sharing, reciprocity and solidarity, that we can make the best of our country and make nationalism that divides the world into warring tribes a relic of the past. So this evening, I want to speak to everybody, whether they voted yes or no to independence in 2014, who feel like Susie, we've been stuck as a country, not just for 2 years because of COVID, but for much longer because of the sterile standoff between nationalism and unionism. Scotland deserves better than this. Scotland is bigger than this. Indeed, I want to suggest that this is the moment for us to become the leaders of a more patriotic, but also more positive and more progressive future for Scotland in Britain, one that is founded on cooperation, sharing and solidarity. Now, my colleagues in Our Scottish Future, Jim, Heather, Henry, Eddie and Susie, will, like me, be happy to answer any questions about what we all believe are the weakness of the nationalist case, on the pound, on pensions, on passports, on public service financing, indeed on all the issues where they have no credible answers. Incoherent on quantitative easing and how we finance the recovery, incomprehensible on the border and how we prevent hard barriers to trade, confused on the EU and how you can join without agreeing to the deficit rules and the fisheries and farming regime, dangerously contradictory on defense and how you can oppose nuclear weapons but want to join a nuclear weapons alliance. But we believe it is less important to spend our time exposing the SNP, and more important, because Scotland deserves better than this, to spend our time explaining our positive vision of a Scotland leading in Britain, not leaving it, a vision that can not only convince our fellow Scots, but inspire them, and one that in particular, that can get through to what I call middle Scotland, to the 1.5 million men and women who hold the key to whether we will be in Britain or leave it. These are the 40% of Scots who are not ultra-nationalists and not ultra-unionists. They are the men and women who feel, let us be honest, more Scottish than British. They prefer the Scottish Parliament to the UK Parliament, most of whom have voted SNP, but they are middle Scotland, not extreme nationalist Scotland, because they've not rejected for all time all connections with the rest of Britain, and they do not feel they need to choose between Scotland and Britain. They are not our opponents. They are our potential supporters, and they have got to be won by us. But they want change, and they need reasons for supporting the United Kingdom. And what we can offer, because Scotland deserves better and can do better, is a vision that argues for, in preference to separation, the right balance between autonomy and cooperation to guarantee that everyone will be treated as first-class citizens and at the same time have the best opportunities possible within Britain. For we must not, as defenders of Britain, forget, and we must not let nationalists, the destroyers of Britain, ignore what Scotland and Scottish people agree on more than anything else. 75%, yes, 75%, 3/4 of all Scottish people in every poll we do are in favour of more cooperation, not less, with the rest of the United Kingdom. And when it comes down to the burning issues facing families today, Scottish people hit by rising poverty and excess of low-paid jobs, poor housing, declining educational standards, pressure on health and social care, rising crime, and now soon to be hit harder with higher taxes, increased energy bills and food price inflation. We can do better than simply the nationalist message that tells people they have to wait for answers until the day after independence. Scotland deserves better than this. Scotland can do better and do better now. For in addition to the Scottish Parliament, 65% of Scots want more cooperation with the rest of the United Kingdom on health to deal with problems like pandemics. 66% want more cooperation on the economy to create good jobs and end low pay. And 61% want more cooperation on climate change. So Scottish people like you and me should now lead the demand for the practical cooperation necessary to bring about change we can all get behind. Fairer, faster, safer, and less riskier change than independent. Now, change means reforms, and there will have to be improvements in the way we run the UK to do this. But there's more to life than constitutional fights. Good jobs, better healthcare, more personalised public services, greater security, action on climate change that everyone agrees are their uppermost post-pandemic, post-austerity, post-Brexit priorities can be delivered better by extending cooperation and mobilising all the resources of the United Kingdom instead of years of conflict. Here is the choice for the future. When it comes to industry and jobs, Scotland is a power in renewables, in wind and wave power, and in hydrogen. But Scotland is bigger than even this. And as climate change and pandemics prove every day, it makes sense in a world that is interconnected, economically integrated and interdependent, and where prosperity to be sustained has to be shared, for us to work with our neighbours using all the resources of the United Kingdom to secure the investment that can make us an energy superpower with the good paying Scottish jobs that will flow from it. The same applies in IT, AI, technology. If instead of leaving the UK currency union, the UK single market and the UK customs union, we can draw on and deploy all the resources of the UK, we can be recognised worldwide and internationally competitive as a global superpower in science and engineering, just as we were a century ago. Were we to break away from the UK health service, UK scientific research, and the UK welfare state, we could at best be a power in modern medicine at home. But again, Scotland is bigger than this. Pursuing the policy of intensifying cooperation across the UK and putting all its resources to work mean we can be a superpower, recognised across the world as a world leader for our medical innovation and be a huge job creator for the Scottish people. So going it alone, Scotland separating off, means we can at best be a power in the land. But Scotland, again, is bigger than this. Doing things cooperatively together and using all the UK's resources means we can be a full employment economic superpower. And this is a more expansive, more ambitious, more inspiring vision of what Scotland can achieve. And so we should lead the cause of cooperation and the cause to design a new Britain with a more flexible constitution, with a duty of cooperation at its heart, a remit to ensure an equality of respect for each of us in whatever country we live, with no one ever again treated as second-class citizens. And here we have allies in England and Wales who also want this to happen. For the Britain that most of us feel most at home in and can identify with is not the insular Britain of Johnson and Farage, but the bigger Britain of Marcus Rashford, David Attenborough, Raheem Sterling, Emma Raducanu, yes, of Andy Burnham and Mark Drakeford too, who like us believe in sharing across the United Kingdom. And so we should be thinking how here from Scotland, we can help shape a modern Britain, less centralised around Whitehall, more inclusive in a way all nations and regions of the United Kingdom can feel comfortable with an elected second chamber of the nations and regions, a UK-wide council of the nations and regions chaired by the Prime Minister, but where everybody's voice is heard, making the unfinished business of devolution less about powers here and there and more about cooperative working relationships. The creation, in fact, of a new Britain to deliver what cannot be achieved by Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland and even England alone, the pooling and sharing of resources across the country that guarantees equal opportunities for each of us based on equal responsibilities accepted by all of us. So I want 2022 to be the year when we talk of the potential of Scotland and offer a plan for the future of Scotland and Britain in a post-nationalist world. For you know, there is a more fundamental set of beliefs that can unite us. Yes, Scotland's a great country of great people with boundless potential. Yes, we're proud of our distinctive culture and national identity. But we must also proudly state that part of that culture and our history and what makes us who we are is that for 3 centuries, we've not just sought national autonomy in matters close to home, but also embraced and indeed often pioneered cross-border cooperation to our benefit. And we've rejected the idea of a world of peoples and countries forever in conflict with each other. Adam Smith, who wrote from my hometown Kirkcaldy, pictured the world as a series of concentric circles, circles of empathy, starting with the empathy we feel most intensely for our family, our neighborhood, and what's close to home, the inner circle, if you like. But it is also an empathy capable of extending outwards to nations, to groups of nations, and ultimately to humanity as a whole. A world where we are connected to each other and look out for each other. And that's our Scottish identity. Our values reject isolationism, selfishness, and endless conflict. And instead, we do champion what I think matters to you and me: empathy between nations, reciprocity across communities, solidarity with and towards our fellow human beings. We don't just cooperate out of need, we actually have a human need to cooperate. And so let us think of ourselves in the way George Orwell did when writing about nationalism. Not as nationalists who see life as an endless struggle between us and them, but see ourselves as patriots who love our country, and we see the benefits of cooperating with our neighbours. Let it be this New Year's resolution to create a positive, patriotic and progressive Scottish future that the vast majority of the Scottish people can believe in and can get behind. Thank you very much.